Hey guys, how's it going? So there's still more gun control bills being filed, working their way through the legislature in this Michigan lame duck session. It's over in a week and a half, but they're speeding up and not slowing down. Now there's also been a recent law that's been signed by the governor. So these two that I'm about to talk about are no longer bills. They have been signed into law. Before I do, real quick though, we're also talking about a previous bill that I've discussed on this channel, and that had a committee hearing recently regarding forcing police to destroy firearms that are acquired via seizure or buyback. They're going to be reconvening this week in the House to try to push that one through committee. Also, the Senate is having a committee hearing this week regarding what they call so-called ghost guns, so prohibiting privately made firearms in Michigan. Those are ongoing, still trying to push those through. Now, if you're new here, welcome. It's good to have you here. Make sure you go back and watch my previous videos because I've been putting out tons of content on this whole rash of gun control that they're trying to force through at the very end of this session, while the Democrats can still control the House because the Republicans have won the election and are going to be taking the House over here the beginning of January. If we can get through this, this will be a miracle because they're piling it on us right now, and there's more and more going on. And for all of you who have been watching my videos, glad to have you back again. I'm glad a lot of people are getting involved, being aware, and we need to stay on top of all of this. So the two that have been signed into law are Public Act 157 of 2024 and Public Act 158 of 2024. You can see here these were approved by the governor on December 3rd, filed with the Secretary of State on December 3rd. The effective date is sine die, which means the 91st day after the final adjournment of the 2024 regular session. So 91 days from approximately mid next week. I'll bring you guys back up to speed when these are going into effect, because these are going to prohibit carry, certain types of carry in some instances, all types of carry in other instances, in many places throughout Michigan. This is potentially a huge trap for a lot of you to unknowingly become criminalized for what was previously lawful carry of firearms. So these are important, and as always, all gun control is completely and utterly unconstitutional. I reject every word of these bills, and there should be no gun control at all in a country where we have a Second Amendment that says shall not be infringed, and further strengthened in the Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 6. Now, these are Enrolled House Bill 4127 and Enrolled House Bill 4128. Now, some of you are thinking to yourself, hold on a minute, 28EDU. I've been following your channel for over a year, and you talked about this last year, and I thought this already passed. Well, this has had its ups and downs back and forth between both chambers of the legislature for, oh gosh, almost 2 years now. So I'll give you a real quick history, and then we're going to get right into these bills. They're not particularly long, but they are complicated, and again, a potential trap for many of you to unknowingly be criminalized if you're carrying a gun in places where you used to be able to lawfully carry. Okay, and again, there's going to be no legal advice in this video whatsoever. This is just for information and to try to get you guys active so we can stop all this stuff. So this was originally introduced back in February of 2023, went through committees, and the House actually passed these bills in November of 2023. Then they sent them over to the Senate, and they ended last year, and they never actually passed. Well, the Senate took these up in February of this year. The Senate went through their whole committee process. The Senate amended the bills. The House went back and amended the bills again. Finally, this was voted on and passed, an identical version in the Senate, and then the same version was passed in the House this November. So yes, the House passed these bills last November, but the Senate disagreed with the wording. They changed it. The House had to re-vote again to make sure they were voting on the amendments, or in this case, substitute, that the Senate had done. There's substitutes here. There were amendments. And the initial bills were actually, I hate to even say this, but like worse. I hate saying less worse, but they did get rid of some of the restrictions and they did give more people exemptions, but this is still worse and this is still completely and utterly unacceptable. So I want to say that 100%. I don't agree with any of this, but if you guys are looking for just honest reporting on this, they made it a little less worse. If that's your silver lining you're looking for, then you might be happy with this, but I hope that you're not. So these are the enrolled House bills here. This is how they look when they're in Public Act form. Okay. These are very similar. There's just like an extra paragraph or so. Just a couple slight differences between the two. So if you want to look these up, these are Michigan Public Act 157 and 158 of 2024. If you type that in, you should be able to find it. I'm going to read from the final House bills that were concurred on, because you can see the difference in bold. That means stuff they've changed versus what was previous law. And we can see here that, yeah, it was passed by the Senate in February. The House concurred, so passed it for a second time with the changes that were made on November 13th. And we're going to be looking at the same dates for House Bill 4127. Now, a lot of this has been public act or law in Michigan for quite some time. They're actually amending 1931 Public Act 328. If you look at our gun control in Michigan, yeah, the big public acts that started all this were 1927 and 1931. That's how long we've had many of these restrictions. So this is going to have to do with places you can possess a firearm, lawfully that is. I know a lot of you guys are saying, look, the Second Amendment, I can possess, I can do what I want. I believe the Second Amendment's also the supreme law of the land, and I'm not giving any legal advice here at all, but these are things that now you could be criminalized if caught, okay? So as with all bills and laws, they start off with the people of the state of Michigan enact. So there you go. This is what's going on in Michigan. Lots of people apparently want this. People that don't think like me and don't think like you. Now, this stuff here has been in act for a long time. This is possession. We're not talking about concealed carry in all instances here. Now we're going to see a whole bunch of boldface stuff that's all been added here recently. These are current laws that will go into effect a little over 91 days from now. Except, as provided in subsection 2, a person shall not possess a firearm on the premises of any of the following. A depository financial institution or subsidiary or affiliate of a depository financial institution. B, a church or other house of religious worship. C, a court. D, a theater. E, a sports arena. F, a daycare center. G, a hospital. H, an establishment license under the Michigan Control Code of 1998. Subsection 1 does not apply. So, does not apply to any of the following. A person who owns or is employed by or contracted by an entity described in subsection 1, if the possession of that firearm is to provide security services for that entity. B, a peace officer. C, a person licensed by this state or another state to carry a concealed weapon. D, a person who possesses a firearm on the premises of an entity described in subsection 1 if that possession, is with the permission of the owner or an agent of the owner of that entity. Now, here's where we're going to add stuff. A whole nother long list of prohibited places that prohibits you from possession, and there is going to be some exceptions to this. Except, as provided in subsection 4, a person shall not do any of the following. A, while the polls are open, on an election day, possess a firearm in a polling place or within 100 feet from any entrance to a building in which a polling place is located. B, on any day early voting is conducted at an early voting site, as described in Section 4(1)(m) of Article 2 of the State Constitution of 1963, possess a firearm at an early voting site or within 100 feet from any entrance to a building in which an early voting site is located. Yeah, we don't have voting day anymore. We vote for a long, long time here now in Michigan. C, this is where it starts to get real draconian. For 40 days before an election, possess a firearm within 100 feet from any absent voter ballot drop box. these drop boxes could be all over the place, especially if you live in a city. You'll probably have no idea where most of them are even located. D, for 40 days before an election, with an absent voter, when an absent voter can vote, an absent voter ballot in person with the city or township clerk, possess a firearm in a city or township clerk's office, or an official satellite office of a city or township clerk that is staffed by employees of the city or township clerk, or within 100 feet from any entrance to a city or township clerk's office or satellite office. Now, all of that I just said, subsection 3 does not apply to any of the following: a peace officer, a person who possesses a firearm in that person's residence or on that person's private property, or any other person who has permission to possess a firearm in that person's residence or on that person's private property. C, a person carrying a concealed pistol, if that person is licensed by this state or another state to carry a concealed pistol. So if you have a CPL and you're concealing, that would be an exception to the previous. But it makes it very specific. If you're carrying a concealed pistol and you also have a CPL, a lot of people don't have CPLs in Michigan. I don't think you should have to have a CPL at all to exercise your natural God-given right to keep and bear arms. But if you don't and you're going to try to open carry, yeah, these are all prohibited places. Certain ones, there's different times and dates and 40 days, and it gets confusing. Subsection 3 does not apply to a person who is lawfully transporting or possessing a firearm in a vehicle. See, the Senate added a lot of these exceptions in because it used to be so insane you wouldn't be able to leave your house. Trust me. Number 6, except as provided in subsection 7, a person shall not, while absent voter ballots are being processed, possess a firearm in an absent voter counting place or a combined absent voter counting place, or within 100 feet from any entrance to an absent voter counting place or a combined absent voter counting place. Subsection 6, so that's that last line I just read there, does not apply to a uniformed law enforcement officer acting in the course of the officer's duties. Notice that last part here, this number 6, that does not give CPL holders an exception. So the way I read this would apply to everybody, even if you're concealed carrying, even if you have a CPL, you would be prohibited under Section 6 there from carrying a firearm under that criteria. The penalties: 8, a person who violates this section is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment for not more than 90 days, or a fine of not more than $100 or both. Now again, much of the verbiage is the same for this House Bill 4127, which is now Michigan Public Act 157 of 2024. There's just some extra stuff to do with that last Section 6 that you're not going to see in 4127, but you do in 4128. If you guys want to look all this up, just look up Michigan House Bill 4127, 4128. You can see the whole history on it on the Michigan Legislature's website, and you can look at these enrolled House bills. So these are currently enrolled, and like I said, more committee hearings going on this week. Keep in mind that Senate Bills 857 and 858, which is going to ban guns at the Capitol building, the Senate Binsfield office building, and the Anderson House office building, for everybody, including CPL holders, except they exempted the legislature, right? They exempted the reps and senators that have CPLs. Those have passed the Senate, which I just did a previous video on, and I'm expecting the House to hear those soon. Hopefully they run out of time, but they are still actively pushing these bills through. There's even more bills that are possibly promulgating through, but I think this video has gone long enough, and I will be back with more updates again very soon. And look guys, I'm a landscaper, plow some snow in the winter. This is not what I do for my profession, but I'm very passionate about the Second Amendment. So if any of you guys want to help support the channel, there's plenty of ways to do that, and the link's down there in the description. And also check out the other websites where I publish content too. You'll find links to those in the description as well. And also share these videos with your friends so they can know what the heck is going on. And I'll be reading the comments, so let me know what you all think. All right, I'll probably, unfortunately, have to see you on here soon, because there's all kinds of stuff going on in Lansing literally right now. And we'll see. I appreciate all of you guys calling your reps and senators, letting your friends and family know, because we do need to put this stuff to a stop, because this is unconstitutional in my opinion, and quite frankly insane. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good one.